I was born in 1965, and so the civil rights era was waning at that time, and I was so young I didn't understand. I never saw segregation because of when I was born. But when I went to public schools, you know, it seemed normalized for me going to school with African Americans and other races. We all played sports together, hung out together. I think racial relations for me have improved over time in the sense that in my career as a law enforcement officer, you know, I had the opportunity to work with African American colleagues. I had supervisors that were African American, and in fact, at ATF, my mentor was an African American, Ronnie Carter, who later became the director of ATF. He was like a father to me in law enforcement, kind of raised me, if you will. And you know, I've got a broad base of friends through being in the law enforcement family and all the interactions, you know, that I've had with that. And I can't speak for the country as a whole. I can only speak for myself, but you know, I think things are getting better. My children were raised that there's no difference among races and interaction and all that. They don't know any different. You know, they have friends that are African American that come stay at our house. You know, they come camp out at our farm and they spend time with them. So they've grown up in an era, I think, going to public school. My son went to St. John's High School, and yeah, I guess I see more normalization and more not making an issue of race, I guess would be another way of putting it, that they don't know any different. So if I use my children and how they've grown up and how they view race relations, I think it is an improvement. I think we're in better shape than where we were. I don't see negativity. Good morning, a good afternoon, you know, opening doors for folks. I mean, I just see people helping each other, stopping and helping folks. I'm disappointed that the figure is so low for African Americans. I wish that was much higher. And I would say that what may be driving that is our history with, you know, civil rights in our area, that, you know, that African Americans had to fight so hard to just try to be treated equal. And I think we've got a lot of older African Americans that remember those times, that they're still fresh in their minds, and that struggle is still as real today as it was then. And I think a lot of those folks may account for those feelings that it's not as good as it could be. I can't recall of any instance in interacting with African Americans that they behaved any differently. You know, we were all there to do our jobs and protect the public, and I can't say of any instances that I recall that an African American officer treated or interacted with an African American person any differently than a white officer has. I mean, as far as day to day. The premise of it is that if you assign officers to certain communities and neighborhoods, they come to know the folks that reside there, and that they would have encounters with the community that were of non-law enforcement nature. So they could build relationships and in effect build trust. And that had a very positive effect, because if people could know those officers not as law enforcement officers but as people, just ordinary folks, they could develop trust, and if there were crimes committed or issues going on, they would feel comfortable approaching those officers and sharing that information. And it built a bond between the law enforcement and the folks they're sworn to protect. So I think it was a great program. I'd like to see more of it now.